It's alright.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yo guys, what is up? Moxsy here on a Borderlands 3 video, and today we are going over one of the most asked questions I've gotten in the past few days, and that is the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge still the go-to relic for Amara, or are we switching to the Elemental Projector? Now, if you didn't know, I put out my Ricochet Witch build, my favorite Amara build, and in that video we used the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge as our relic. Since then, it has received a slight adjustment, so now it gives a stack damage increase of 90% instead of 120. However, due to the multiplicative properties of the grant 1% increase, you can get this thing up to about 120% increase. Today, we're going to be talking about if the Elemental Projector is now, in fact, the better relic, or if we should still use the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge. Now, I have done a ton of testing on this, and I'm happy to say that there isn't a super clear-cut answer. There is now another option for Amara, and I will be talking about the different scenarios in which the Pearl is better versus when the Elemental Projector is better. And with that, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so this is going to get a little complicated, and I'm going to try to break it down as simply as possible. But in order to understand how the Pearl and the Elemental Projector work, we have to look at the gun damage equation and formula in Borderlands 3. Now on your screen right now should be showing the gun damage formula. Now there's a lot of things there. The two main things that we're going to be looking at are normal hit and elemental damage. We need to show you the gun damage formula because we need to talk about how damage is calculated and also diminishing returns. Now, the two things that we're paying attention in the gun damage formula is normal hit and elemental multiplier. Normal hit is simplified to normal hit equals gun card damage times 1 plus your gun damage boost. Now your gun damage boosts come from your spiritual driver, your 250 phase cast weapon damage, 100 ASE weapon damage. It comes from your stats on your comms, comes from your perks such as if we respect into wrath, your guardian rank, overkill. A lot of things are going into normal hit. And the other thing is that we're looking at is elemental multiplier. Now, elemental multiplier, there's a lot less things that go into it. It is the first, your type of element. So you're going to get a bonus, for example, if you use fire versus flesh. That multiplier goes in there. And also, Amara's Tempest skill is one of the only things that go into the elemental multiplier because she's one of the only characters that have something that increases elemental damage. And also, Elemental Projector also goes into your elemental multiplier. So the picture that I'm trying to paint for you is that there is a ton of things that impact gun damage, such as the weapon card, the anointment, your driver, the pearl goes into weapon damage, guardian rank, all these things. There's a lot of things that go into your normal gun damage and not that many things that go into your elemental multiplier, which leads us to talk about diminishing returns. Now, the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge theoretically has a greater damage increase to our weapons, right? At full stacks, it is possible to get about 120% increased gun damage. However, there's already so many things that affect our gun damage that even though the Pearl is less, it's in a part of the equation where it can have a greater impact with a smaller multiplier. Now, it doesn't matter where the multiplier is applied because it's all multiplication and multiplication. Like, it doesn't matter where is what, but it has a greater impact because there's more things in the normal hit side of the equation that the Pearl is going to experience diminishing returns. Now, if you don't know what diminishing returns are, basically the more you put into something, if you have too much, it could be too much of a good thing. Now, you won't have any negatives applied, but if you have too much of a good thing, you start to see smaller returns on that big good thing, such as if you eat pizza once for the first time in a year, you'll really enjoy it. But if you eat pizza every day for a whole year, you're going to start to kind of not enjoy it too much, because too much of the same thing can be not great. So that's how the weird analogy. That's kind of what the situation with the pearl is, and we're about to demonstrate what I mean by that right here. So right now we've got radiation and corrosive as our elements. We're going to be shooting the target dummy with a wetting invitation. Now, there's a few tests that we're going to show you guys. So right now, first off, we're going to use phase cast. We're going to use phase cast. We're going to be standing still, so we're not going to get any benefits from our driver. We have the pearl on. These things are guardian rank is turned off, so we'll be keeping an eye out on our fire damage here. So phase cast, make sure our pearl is stacked. About 5 seconds to fully stack the pearl. Shoot. And with the pearl, we hit for about 28k, right? 28k with our fire damage. Pretty good. Now let's switch over to elemental projector. This one's got no gun damage bonuses on it. We're not getting our victory rush. Elemental projector we can proc immediately. We don't have to wait here. So next we're going to shoot with the elemental projector. We had 28k before. If this game wants to be nice to me, they would show me my number. Looks like we're at about 22k there, right? So more damage there with the pearl. So that you'd be like, Moxsy, why are you saying the elemental projector can do more? Is because standing still, not activating a weapon damage anoint, the normal hit part of the equation isn't super saturated with bonuses. However, as soon as we start using our phase cast and we start moving with the spiritual driver, you're going to start to see those diminishing returns on the pearl. Alright, so now we just showed that we did more damage with the pearl when we're not getting any of those big weapon damage bonuses. Now let's switch to the pearl. We'll do a phase cast. So now we've got a wedding invitation. We're doing pearl. We're doing phase cast to proc our phase cast wedding invitation. We're going to walk at default speed, or our sped up speed with the driver, to hit for about, looks like 75k with fire. Now let's do that exact same thing with the elemental projector. Now there are a ton of scenarios in this game, and we'll be talking about the different scenarios to use the elemental projector, but I just wanted to prove a point, and then we'll transition into talking about the different scenarios and the best anointments and methods to getting the most out of both of these things. So once we get our cooldown back, we're going to be using the elemental projector. We hit for 75k fire prior. Here we go. Phase cast, elemental projector. Make sure we got 25 stacks of mindfulness. And shoot. And looks like we're hitting for about 98k with our fire damage there. Now, the reason we are now able to do more damage with the elemental projector is because the pearl received diminishing returns, while the elemental projector is in a category that is less saturated and can have a larger effect on our equation. Alright, with that, let's transition into specific scenarios and some more math. Alright, so next up, we're going to be showing you guys two scenarios of using the elemental projector and using the pearl. Two scenarios that I find myself in a lot. Now, these calculations were done with the help of a guy named Prismatic. Prismatic created a crazy Google Doc, basically, that takes into account all of these different factors that are in Borderlands. It's only for Amara currently, but it has all of Amara's skills. You can input all of her skills, you can input all of her anointments, her movement speed, everything, and you can come out with the actual damage increase that you're getting, and that is what has also helped us decide and make these conclusions about the Pearl and the Projector. Now, I asked him for 2 scenarios, and he put them into his calculator, and this is what we got. So our first scenario that it'll be showing on screen is with 100 weapon damage. We were using a 100 ASE weapon with fire damage. We have a fire dot on ourselves, and we're using plus 50% fire and plus 50% rad. This is the typical setup I use on Amara to kill Grave Ward. So I wanted to find out what is the best thing I should be using against Grave Ward. Now, versus Flesh, aka Grave Ward, the Projector, these are all relative numbers, by the way. Relative numbers, simplified for our actual demonstration purposes. But versus Flesh, the Projector is way further ahead than the Pearl, which is to be expected. But because we're matching our weapon, and we have a lot of fire bonuses, we have a fire dot and fire on our shield or grenade, we're boosting that fire damage so much that even we're gonna output even better damage with the Pearl against shields and armor. So across the board, the Projector wins because we're boosting that fire damage so much. This is what I like to use for Grave Ward, and the conclusion we can draw for this is the Projector across the board basically is going to be your best tool for bossing. When you know the enemy's bar or type that they'll be, either shield, armor, or whatever, and it's like a 1-bar enemy, the Projector will always be better because you can match your element and you can output the most damage with the Projector. Now, the next scenario that we're looking at is something that I find myself in often, which is Wotan. Sometimes with Wotan, I like using a shock dot on myself. I'll use a corrosive weapon with 100 ASE, and I'll use 50 shock and 50 corrosive, and I'll have a shock dot on myself. This is my Wotan Cutsman setup, and so I wanted to know if I should be using the Projector or the Pearl. Wotan is obviously shield and armor, and I'm not going to be switching the dot on myself that often. So here, versus shields and versus armor, because the dot isn't matching, even though we have matching dot in our on our shield or grenade, we have a plus 50 shock and we're shock dotting ourselves, the Pearl is better once again, or this time, across the board. So if you're not matching your elements, even if you're kind of overlapping elements for something like Wotan, the Pearl could be a lot better because then we're switching between corrosive and shock, and we could output more consistent DPS than the Projector because the Pearl will increase our corrosive and shock damage because it doesn't matter what element we're afflicted with. So that's very cool. So let's try to transition into our conclusion and our final summary of how to use the Pearl and the Projector. English teachers tell you to never say in conclusion, but in conclusion, the Projector is going to be your best friend. First off, the more gun damage you have. If you're using a 300 phase slam, 250 phase cast, 100 ASE weapon damage, the Projector with a matching element on yourself is going to be the most damage. Now, I will be using an elemental Projector whenever I want to go for a one-shot on a boss, whatever I'm bossing. However, the Pearl is going to be my general use artifact. The great things about the pearl is you don't have to be matching elements. That way you can use a different actual element on your action skill and not match, which can create an additional projectile, which creating an additional projectile accounts for the damage loss that you could be doing with the recursion. So for like the takedown, I'm probably going to be using the pearl, but for Grave Ward and Tyrene and killing Wendigo, I'm going to be using an elemental projector. Now, one thing to note, because we've used it in previous builds, is with Conflux, yes, the elemental projector will be better if you can conflux yourself with multiple dots and be using the elements such as fire, shock, and corrosive that conflux can dot you with. However, conflux is kind of annoying, so if you want the most damage, that is also another strat you can use when using the elemental projector for bossing, but it can be kind of annoying for general play, and I honestly don't think I'm gonna be going it, even though it's more damage for bossing possibly, but at the moment I'm not too keen on it. Lastly, the elemental projector versus the pearl. There can be great stats to roll on your elemental projector. There can be really nice stats such as auto, such as victory rush. All of these things make it awesome. The decision at the end is up to you. I'm probably going to be switching back and forth. It's not going to be I'm only using this and I'm only using this. But I hope this video helped you guys out to understand, one, about how damage is calculated in Borderlands, and two, giving you the most information on the pearl versus the elemental projector, so that in the end you can make the most informed decisions when putting together your own builds, guys. I hope you appreciated the video. There was a lot of effort and testing that went into this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you learned something new, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!